So it's Saturday morning and we're in Alexandra Marina in Grimsby, home of our Ghostnet campaign. I'm sat here on MV Spectre with some of the crew and divers from our couple of days up here who've been with us for a long time, and over here I've got 3 of the 4 campaign coordinators for Captain Paul Watson Foundation, Dive and the Ghostnet campaign. So from left to right they're going to introduce themselves and then they're going to tell us a little bit about the campaign and what it means to them and how we operate and what successes we've had. So,
hi, I'm Luke, one of the campaign coordinators. I've been with the Captain Paul Watson Foundation for 4 or 5 years now. I've been diving for probably twice as long. Also part of Fathoms Free in Cornwall, who are the UK Ghost Gear Coalition partners with the Captain Paul Watson Foundation UK. And I joined the campaign a few years ago basically to make a difference. It's a huge problem, ghost gear, and so here we are in Grimsby having an impact.
Great.
Hi, I'm Lou. I've been with the campaign about 5 years. I've been diving for about 12 years, based up in Scotland, and very passionate about this campaign in terms of removing ghost gear from our oceans to protect our marine life, which is really important.
Hi, I'm Phil. I've been with Captain Paul Watson Foundation for about 9 years, been on the campaign, the Ghostnet campaign, since its inception in 2018. I'm also a diver, but on this campaign I'm skipper stroke deckhand as and when needed. Same as these guys really, we've got a huge problem, not just in the UK but all around the world with ghost gear, so to be able to just make a dent in that huge problem is really important. You know, every single piece that we bring out is life saved, and that's why it's so important to me.
So guys, how often do you get out on the boat during a year to recover the Ghostnet gear?
So for me, I like to get out as much as possible. So whenever the dates come out, I put myself down for it. But unfortunately this year we've had quite a few times when we've been able to not go out because of the weather. So but yeah, as soon as the dates are out, I'm on it.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not been a great year this year. We've missed out on quite a few dates due to the weather. We had a fantastic start to the season, then it gradually got a bit worse. But we're out. We went out yesterday. We can see here we've got a big haul of ropes and nets. So talk us through how that went down yesterday then.
Yesterday's dive was brilliant. The weather was on our side, the visibility was a lot better than previous weekends. It wasn't a record haul, but as you can see, it's a pretty good one. There was a report released last year that about 2% of all fishing gear is lost annually. About 25 million traps and pots are lost. So we're doing the best we can to make a dent in that figure.
Okay, so how do you go about finding where the gear is? I mean, we know there's a lot of gear out there, but how do you choose where to dive?
We sort of sit down and look at sites that we normally collect gear, and then our skipper, well Mark, yourself, will look at the wrecks in the area, and we know that fishermen will target wrecks as they attract a lot of marine life, and marine life will congregate there, breed there and whatnot. So it's quite a hot spot for finding things.
Plus we've got local divers on the campaign as well who know these waters really well through their diving around this area, so we use their intelligence quite a lot. So I think we've become very good, especially in this area really, at targeting the areas where we know there's going to be a lot of pots and nets and things like that. I mean, this area where we are, and the reason we've been here for the last 2 years, because we never seem to go out and not recover anything, so there is a real problem around here, so I think, you know, we've been really successful.
And obviously recovering these lost pots and nets is quite dangerous. So what kind of safety training do you go through, and what preparation do you do, Louise, for, you know, what does the team do to make sure that everything happens safely and successfully?
So we have a training course with SDI run by Mark Powell, and we also train as a team over the winter months. And before every dive we make sure that we have a proper safety briefing so that the divers are aware of which wreck they're going to dive on and their roles within the team, so they know ahead of time what role they're going to play on that team. We work as generally a threesome, and so there's 2 sets of 3 divers. There's always a spotter, and there'll be 2 people working together to either cut the nets and making sure they're signalling well underwater and retrieving it as safely as possible.
Okay, and there'll be quite a few people watching this who would love to get involved, whether it be in the water or above it, what sort of qualifications do they need from a diving point of view? I mean, presumably not just anybody can get in the water and take part in this campaign. Presumably you've got to have some level of qualification and training. So can one of you just talk me through that a little bit?
Yeah, we prefer divers that are diving all year round in a variety of conditions. We've set a minimum requirements of BSAC sports diver or paddy rescue diver, so that they're a lot more proficient and able to dive. Well, it's nice to know that your buddy could rescue you if anything was to go wrong. There are a lot of divers that don't necessarily have that qualification, have a great deal of experience. We would ask you to, revisit your skills and up those qualifications. But the most important thing really is to be diving in the UK sea waters year round. The diving really is just a method of getting there. It wants to come as a reflex action rather than be something you're focused on. There's an awful lot of task loading, and the visibility is generally very, very poor. Even if the visibility is good like it was yesterday, and by good I mean we had 6 metres, it's not 20 or 30 metres like you get abroad. But as soon as you start moving anything, the visibility is literally zero, and the last thing we want is anyone to panic or freak out. And so as Louise touched on, training is a big part of this, and so yeah, we want very, very competent divers that are relaxed in the worst conditions basically.
So what are the risks involved? I mean, once somebody has that qualification, presumably we need to evaluate them, and then once they're in the water, what sort of risks do the divers face when they're down there working in what is basically quite poor conditions, doing fairly dangerous work? What are the potential hazards that you come across?
I mean, potentially the worst hazard is entanglement and being lost in the poor visibility. So good communication skills and teamwork are vital. You've also got the risk, because we use lift bags, you have the risk if you're entangled and you get sent up the lift bag, an uncontrolled descent increases your risk of decompression sickness significantly. You've also got the risks of losing your buddy. We're obviously in the open sea as well, so separation procedures and whatnot are very important to follow. It's generally the most risky diving you can have after sort of cave diving and confined spaces. The other thing a couple of our divers became injured yesterday with puncture wounds. You're working in zero visibility. The pots are very, very sharp. They're very hazardous. There's obviously rusty spikes and whatnot. So as well as using sharp knives, what we're recovering actually isn't very pleasant at all.
Okay, from Phil, you're obviously part of the boat crew here. What part do the crew play in mitigating these hazards and making sure that we're keeping the divers as safe as possible?
Well, safety is kind of our number one concern really with the divers when we are recovering ghost gear through lift bags and things like that. We'll often have divers coming up at the same time, and we always try to evaluate whether or not we can recover the equipment and safely recover the divers. So in those situations, generally we would recover divers first and go back for ghost gear secondary. But yeah, I mean, the divers' safety is paramount to us, so we're all trained in how to deliver oxygen should there be an emergency situation. We have safety briefings when we come on board. We're all briefed on how to use lifeboats and all the other various bits of safety equipment that we have on board. Obviously, things like the pots and things like that are very sharp, so we kind of work together as a team to identify the risks and kind of just look out for each other really. We've always kind of got each other's backs and making sure that we're keeping each other safe, because this is almost like a work environment for us, so health and safety is kind of everybody's concern really. So yeah, it's just a mixture of formal training and just having each other's backs and constantly being on the ball.
So it sounds hazardous, dangerous, dare I say, but it also sounds quite exciting, a lot of fun. So what's the plan for today then, Louise?
So we pretty much finished clearing the wreck of the SS Tern yesterday, and so we've decided to go to a second wreck, which is pretty much in the same area. It's a much smaller wreck, but again, every single wreck we've been on around this area, there's been lots of ghost gear on it, so we're pretty confident that we're going to find some ghost gear on this wreck today.
Excellent. And one last question, why Grimsby? What brings the campaign to Grimsby, and what makes Grimsby so attractive for the campaign?
Success rate, basically. As I touched on earlier, it's a global issue. But we know from the last few years' experience that we're pretty much guaranteed when we visit a new wreck that we will find something. There's been such a huge amount of fishing going on in the area over the years, and no one else has been doing this that way. So pretty much every wreck we come across is completely littered. Not necessarily with ghost gear that would have been caught on the wreck whilst it was fishing. Some of these nets might have washed in across the seafloor. As you can see in this bundle here, there's quite a variety of different nets, and it's not necessarily the case that all of these were caught whilst trawling or anything else on that particular wreck.
Okay, and I know the campaign's been in other areas as well, because we know that this problem is an issue all around, not just the UK coast, but all around the world. Would you say that Grimsby's been the most successful venue, and do you intend to stay here for the longer term?
Yeah, I mean, we've all been doing this a while now, haven't we? And we've dived various parts of the UK, but the success rate here is 100%, isn't it? Every time we're out, we're recovering, where it's not been 100% in other areas. So I think, while ever we've been successful, we'll carry on working here. But we are looking from next season onwards, so next summer onwards, expanding the campaign to other areas. So we'll carry on having the success that we've got here, but we'll have other crews around the UK doing similar work in other areas.
Okay, and one last question. So divers who want to take part, who have the qualifications or are in the process of getting the qualifications, how do they get in touch with you guys so that they can put their name forwards and we can evaluate them?
Drop us an email at dive@cpwf.org.uk. Give us a little bit of an overview. We'll probably get back to them with a link. Through that link you can sign up. There's a few basic questions, and then if you're suitable, we'll evaluate you. We also have within the dive campaign itself other campaigns and operations that we'll be expanding next year alongside the Ghostnet campaign. Even if you're not quite ready yet for the Ghostnet campaign, there is a good chance you can get involved in the research and survey side of what we plan to do in the future.
Yeah, because I think the plan with that really is for us to kind of almost like people who aren't quite there yet, it's kind of like nurture them through to get them to a point where we can then almost like graduate them onto the Ghostnet campaign. So I would say, yeah, absolutely, if you're a diver and you want to get involved, just get in touch with us.
Excellent, well that's really good. Hopefully today will be yet another successful day. I mean, I just have a quick look at some of the stuff we got down there. There's a massive pile of rope. We've got pots, we've even got half a Wellington boot which was trapped in one of the pots. Obviously when we bring these nets and pots up, we're always looking for wildlife that's been trapped in there, and more often than not there are crabs, lobsters, starfish. We've had fish in there, and so we quickly get those back into the water, and then we pile these up here. These will go and join another big pile which is sitting up there on the dock, and then they'll be disposed of safely, recycled where possible, where the materials can be recycled into other products. We know that some of them go as garden ornaments, but the one thing we make sure of is that they never again will be trapping marine wildlife back in the ocean. So here's some of the other divers and crew. We've got Rob, Spud, Elle, Steve and Mark. Give us a wave, guys. There you go, and a little wave from these guys. So thank you very much, and we'll let you know how we get on today.